So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. This video is long overdue. A lot of people have been very curious to understand this concept. And with our last video of the woman who took her husband to court, seeking for a dissolution of their marriage on the ground of hypersexuality, it presented the perfect opportunity for us to address this. Some of my odogus are like Barrister Neze. I have been hearing one thing, something, and it is making my blood boil. May globalization and civilization and Western culture may not put us in trouble. They were like, Barrister Neze. They call it marital rape. Please, can you explain to me how marital and rape can be conjoined and combined in one sentence? Marital, meaning there's marriage, and rape in one sentence. They were boiling. Smoke and fumes were pouring out of their head. They were like, my own wife, my own achalugo that I paid hard currency to marry under my own roof. We now turn around to say, I raped her. Barrister Neze, explain this thing for me quickly before I lose my temper. Odogu, calm down. Calm your nerves. Ogini. Monday. Where is Monday? Where is this bartender? Monday. Because without Odogu, one hot golder. Bring one hot golder for my Odogu to calm his nerves. I will explain this, and I will tell you what our laws say. Let us discuss. But remember to substitute the word rape for raid. So please, in the comment section, while you drop your comments, say marital raid. Don't use the strong words, okay? To avoid YouTube community guideline wahala. All right, so let's go on. So what is marital raid? Marital raid, also known as spousal raid, is simply a non-consensual sexual intercourse where the perpetrator is the victim's legal spouse. I'm sure some of our Odogus have torn their shirts at this point. They have torn their clothes. They have rubbed ashes on themselves. They are going crazy. Okay, petitioner is married legal? Yes, that is the definition of marital or spousal raid. And it involves forcing or coercing a spouse into sexual activity without their consent. It involves the employment of the use of force, psychological pressure, violence, threats, intimidation to induce or participate in sexual activity with one's spouse. And believe me, this law has not always existed. In fact, for most of history, marital rape was not considered and has not been considered a crime or an offense in almost all countries. For a long time, legal systems, especially those that were influenced by English common law, held the belief that a wife gave an irrevocable sexual consent to her husband by the very virtue of that marriage. And this was based on the principle stated by 18th century jurist Sir Matthew Hale when he wrote, the husband cannot be guilty of a raid committed by himself upon his lawful wife, for by their mutual matrimonial consent and contract, the wife had given up herself in this kind unto her husband, which she cannot retract. This belief persisted in many parts of the world until the 20th century, where women's rights and human rights advocates began challenging these positions. They insisted that women are not property, they are not pieces of furniture, and they started propagating for body autonomy. They insisted that consent must be continuous. It must be ongoing in marriage, and that marriage should not be a license to invalidate consent. And so around 1976 here, a lot of people watching me were already born then. So it's even a recent advocacy and legal principle. Just in 1976 here, South Dakota in America, in the USA, became the first jurisdiction to criminalize marital rape. Like, criminalize it whole-ha, straight up, meaning that you can't be tried and imprisoned for that. It became an offense legally. And then Canada followed suit, England did the same, and so by the early 2000s, many other countries in the West embraced this concept. Today, marital rape is considered a criminal offense in so many countries. According to a 2006 report by the United Nations, at least 104 countries could prosecute marital rape, with 32 countries explicitly criminalizing it and 74 not exempting it from general rape provisions. So some countries, they clearly criminalized it. There's a section that says if you do this to your wife, if you do this to your husband, it's an offense. Criminalizing. While some, they didn't exempt it from the general rape provision, meaning because some other countries, they would exempt it whole and say a husband cannot be guilty of raiding his wife. So these other countries didn't exempt, meaning despite they did not criminalize directly, their failure to exempt means that it can still come under rape like any other rape incident. I hope you understand. So 32 countries criminalized it straight up, while 74 didn't exempt it. So it still made provision that it exists. I can bet that as of today, of course 2006 is almost 20 years ago, so as of today I am very sure that a whole lot more countries will have adopted this concept into their statutes as law. Listen, I hope you're listening. I hope my men are listening. You know, lack of knowledge and the lack of information is what puts some of my odogus in trouble. Where before they can land UK, before they can remove boots, 1 week after, have banana paper, they are on social media that they set you up from social media to prison, and you start crying. Western culture hates African men. Western culture, it hates African men. It tracks us down, it kills us. Listen now, let me tell you how it works in most of these countries. Every place has their laws. If you cannot comply, if you hate their laws, stay in your father's land, because they will not change their laws for you. I will get to our own laws, okay? Just keep listening. But as these ongoing reforms on the laws on marital rape was taking place in Europe, America, and all of these countries, many countries in Africa, in the Middle East, and in Asia have been very slow, have been slower, to put it mildly, or should we say very hesitant to adopt these changes. So our next question is, what does our own law Gogo, what does it say about marital rape? Let us know whether 95% of husbands in Nigeria would be in prison. What is our law's position? The Nigerian constitution is completely silent about the offense of marital rape. But in section 34, subsection 1, it enshrined the rights of dignity of a person. And it said, every individual is entitled to respect for the dignity of his person, and accordingly, no person shall be subjected to torture or to inhumane or degrading treatment. So this section may be interpreted to mean that forced intercourse without consent can be a form of degrading treatment or inhumane treatment. That may be too vague. No part of our constitution, as I mentioned earlier, outrightly outlaws marital rape. So let's go to our criminal laws, the laws that govern crimes, criminal behavior, criminal proceedings, criminal processes in Nigeria. Let us start with the criminal code, which is the criminal law that governs the southern part of Nigeria. Section 357 of that criminal code criminalizes rape when it said that any person who has unlawful carnal knowledge of a woman or girl without her consent is guilty of an offense which is called rape. I'm sure that at this point you're like, oh yeah, so that could mean a man could also, after all, they said consent, as long as there's no consent, it is rape, right? So that could impliedly mean that a man can also be held responsible for raping his wife. But the criminal code came there to clear your thoughts and your doubts when it further clarified in subsection 6. It said that carnal knowledge of a woman by her husband is not deemed unlawful unless they are judicially separated. There was a video where I discussed the difference between a divorce and a judicial separation. You can search for it, search divorce versus judicial separation by Nezeville. You will see that there's a big difference, okay? So the law is telling us that in southern Nigeria, there is nothing like a husband raiding his own wife, except there is an existing court order of judicial separation existing between them. Please note that I am separated. It's very different from judicial separation. My husband annoyed me. My husband impregnated another woman. I pack my load, come out. My husband, he beats me. I pack my load, come out. That is not judicial separation. That is you working out informally. To all intent and purposes, according to the law, you are still very married. And that husband of yours still has a right to sexual intercourse with you, and you cannot come under the law as rape. So whether you're not in the mood, or you are sick, or you are angry, or you are jealous, or he's a killer, or he's a pedophile, or whatever be the case, our laws say that the husband still has a right to his wife's body at any time. I hope that is clear. Now let us go to the penal code. The penal code is the criminal law that governs the northern part of Nigeria, northern Nigeria. I'm sure most of you are like, oh, Neze, if the southern law can be like this, please just give up. I give up. Then the north, that is a lot more conservative, what would they say if the laws in the southern Nigeria can be like this when it comes to marital rape? Well, you guessed right. The penal code also exempts husbands from being criminally liable for raiding their wives. The penal code has a similar definition of rape, which I will not read, but I will read out this exception for you. It says, the penal code, section 282, subsection 2. It says that sexual intercourse by a man with his own wife is not rape if she has attained puberty. So even if it's a 12-year-old, as long as they are married and she has attained puberty, it is not rape. That is what the penal code says. So clearly, as far as these laws go, marital rape is not a crime in Nigeria. Our laws still believe that once you are married, your spouse owns your body, your husband owns your body in toto. And he is free to have it anytime and any day. However, I must add that there is a very recent law called the VAP Act. That's the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. That is the only law in Nigeria that criminalizes rape expressly. It is a more recent law. It's 2015, unlike these other laws that are very old. So as expected, it covered more recent advocacies and situations, even offenses that were not covered by the criminal code, like acid attacks, female genital mutilation, stalking, psychological abuse, all those kinds of things that, people are just getting knowledge of. The VAP Act covers them. When this bill was presented to the National Assembly in the early 2000s, oh my God, it faced a lot of rejection, plenty of opposition, as is expected in a very, patriarchal system that we have, coming up with laws that seek to liberate women. It sought plenty of opposition. There was so much back and forth, go and re-amend this, take this out. It went through over a decade of revisions, and with public pressure and lobbying and all of that, it eventually got passed into law by the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. Well, I think he's the only Nigerian president that could have passed such a bill into law, a bill that seeks to, give women some kind of protection. And so, yes, it is only this VAP law that recognizes marital raid as an offense. And since the VAP law is a federal law, it cannot really be imposed on states as such, because criminal law falls under the concurrent legislative list. We have the exclusive legislative list, which is under the purview of the Federal National Assembly, House of Rep. Those are the kinds of things that they can do. I'm talking about immigration, security. Those are the kind of agendas that they can handle, while the concurrent legislative list, education, health, and criminal law falls under this concurrent list, which states are responsible for making laws under this concurrent list. Then we have the residual list, which is on the local level. So the VAP, which is a federal law, is applicable only in Abuja and states that chose to domesticate the law. So if a state, for example, Kano State, have refused to domesticate that VAP law, so it is not applicable in Kano State, for example. So it is only applicable in states that, oh, their state house of assembly, their state legislators have seen the law. Oh, we like it. It's good. It serves as a protection for our people. Let us domesticate it. Let us adopt it. So it is only in these states that this VAP law is practiced. Now, that is the law. That is the big English part. The Oyibo part. The grammar part. Let us talk about the practicality, the real life situation, the enforceability of the law. You know, I always love to tell you guys what the law says and what the reality is. And oh yes, you guessed right. Due to our deeply entrenched patriarchal systems, legal barriers, cultural influences, as well as the social stigma that is usually associated with marital issues and rape, I do not think that any documented case exists of where a man in Nigeria has been imprisoned for reading his own wife. I do not know what the future holds. I do not know what the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years may hold. But as of today, this is the position. So what are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about this law? Do you support it? Do you believe that no means no? Even in marriage, do you believe that marriage is not a sexual contract and it does not override the need for consent? Do you argue that that is why you see all these women that are married to abusive husbands? They want to run away. They're just trying to find an ideal plan to exit the marriage, but every year they are pregnant. In 6 years, they have born 5. Are you part of the advocates that say it is because of this marital raid? That's why you see such situations. And that's all the more reason why the VAP law on marital raid should be fully kicked into effect. And these laws should be entrenched and enforced. Or are you team, on the other hand, team, make una dey careful, oh. This Oyibo don dey enter una head, oh. Let the men breathe. Don't suffocate them. Is it people that said we should not cheat? Now with our own wife, una don't come again with marital raid. What in men do now? Oh, when you chose to marry, what did you think you were coming to do there? To play Ludo? I beg, enter bathroom fresh up. I want to flex, my love. I want to flex. At the end of the night, enter bathroom fresh up. By the end of the night, enter bathroom fresh up. Fresh up, my dear sister, and submit. Are you with this set of people who believe that marital raid does not align with us as a people, with our cultures, with our religion, with our tradition, our morals, and our values, and that section of the VAP Act that criminalizes marital raid should be expunged? Please share your thoughts down in the comment section. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's video. If you're new here, you are seeing me for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop all your comments down in the comment section, and stay glued, for we have so much more coming your way. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye. Bye.